everyone, Happy New Year! Welcome back to All Things Woman, where we dig, uproot, and plant seeds to help you flourish as a woman. Today, I am so excited because we are starting the year off talking about our children and what is influencing our children. And I have a beautiful young lady here today by the name of Jasmyn Williams. She is a dean in the school system. I'm excited to have her. We are going to have a great conversation today about what is influencing our children. But before we get into that conversation, I want to talk a little bit about how it's important as parents that we really sit with this topic, especially at the top of the year while they're on break, and before they get back into school. I really want you to sit down and sit with yourself first before you sit with your child. Sit with yourself first and say, what can I do better as a parent this year to make sure that I am fully clear of what is influencing my child or your children, if you have many. So it can be very hard to keep up with the many things that are influencing our children, but it is important that we are fully involved in everything. I am honored that me and my oldest daughter have a really great open relationship. She lets me know, she comes home and she is excited. I love just that. Like, Mom, okay, this is going on, or Mom, I seen this and that, and I don't know about this and that. So it makes for a beautiful conversation. And it made me really think, like, how many parents have this with their children? Like, how many parents really know what is going on daily with their child, whether it's in school, whether it's through social media, whether it's through their friend group or text messages, Snapchat, all of these things.
All of the things.
All of these things. Do you really know what is going on inside of those phones or those tablets,
or those minds,
or their minds? Oh my God, that part, because a lot of our kids tend to sit silent unless you pull at it. So I really want us to sit with that thought. Whenever you get time, sit with it and say, am I fully aware of my child? Am I fully in the know of what's going on in their world? Do I fully know what is influencing them? Because you may think that it's you, but you'll be surprised what you find out if you just sit and have a conversation. But let's go ahead and dig in. First, how are you today?
I am so good today. Feeling good. Feeling excited for the new year. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited for you to pour your wisdom. I see you a lot on Instagram pouring into just the lives of parents, educators, so on and so on. And I know that this is a huge passion for you to have these type of conversations. So first, before we get in, I want to know, because now you're a dean, but before being a dean, you were a teacher, correct?
Yes. My first love.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what led you to become a teacher?
I think I went into education, I would say for two reasons. Like, one, it was a part of my life. I think my mom and my grandmother did a really good job of instilling and letting me know the importance of school. My grandmother, we read during the summers, like we went to the library together. It was a part of my life. And, I was like that child that always got the perfect attendance awards. And I share that to say my grandmother and my mom was making it a priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was there. And so, it was just important to me, and it was a safe space for me. I was born to, my mom had me when she was very young, and she did an amazing job. Shout out to my mother. But it's still that came with things, naturally. And so school was a place that was my safe space, and I liked it. And so, I was one of those people that I always knew what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a teacher.
Awesome.
I was like playing with my dolls and like asking for paper, and my students, and making name tags. Like I was all of the things. And I really liked it. And so that's why I wanted to be a teacher. It was an area that made me feel good, and it was an area that was important to like my home life. But I think there were like two pivotal moments in undergrad that kind of shifted my focus to not being a teacher, but like improving the lives of Black students. And so when I was in undergrad, I did a lot of work in inner city Toledo. So I went to school at Bowling Green, but the closest city was Toledo.
Yes.
So we had I had a field experience there in inner city Toledo, and I loved it. I loved the kids, and I remembered when we would have to come back and report, things that we saw and what was going on in the schools.
Yeah.
The stuff that I was sharing was like vastly different than some of my peers at the suburban schools or the predominantly white schools, and so that was my first little nugget of like, that's interesting that it's very different. And so there was that. And then there was also a situation when I worked in the Maple Heights school district. I worked as a teaching assistant for a teacher there, and she was known as one of the, she was a great teacher.
Yes.
And she taught the gifted students, a class of second graders, and they were gifted students. And I remember as her teaching assistant watching these really harmful things happening in her classroom that was deemed as the best classroom to be in.
Wow.
She would put kids in corners when they were misbehaving. They had to put their face in the corner. She got the proximity to kids was very, very close. She was very militant, and it was just interesting to see that that's what we deemed as good for our black students. And so for me, it really shifted my focus of just being a teacher and being a change maker and really getting to the root of we can reach our kids without controlling them.
Yes.
And that's just kind of how I got on the path that I'm on now.
Yes. Oh my God, that is so, so, so beautiful. Just to even hear, it's rare that you see adults that's I've had this passion since I was young and follow through on it.
Yeah.
And I say that, I say that because I recently told someone I used to say that I wanted to be a counselor when I was younger, right? I lived by that.
Yeah.
I want to counsel people. And then as of last year, I was like, I don't want to sit with people all day and hear their problems. I had to come to that. But yet it was a part of the purpose that I knew because I do like helping people. I do like pouring into people.
Right.
But it was just it's in a different way. It's not through counseling, Tiffany.
Yes.
And that's the only thing. But it's beautiful to hear at such a young age. And then the effectiveness of your home life produce this beautiful thing of realizing, okay, militant is not the way. Militant is not the way. There's
Structured
another.
is.
Yes.
And I think there's a difference between being militant and being structured.
Yes.
Yes. And then with my upbringing, I was in the house with my grandmother until we were probably about 8 years old. And so my aunt and my uncle, they both were very intelligent as well. My aunt is currently a pediatrician, and so I watched her work ethic too, and that was huge for me. So just seeing, like I said, the fruit of it.
Yes.
Was also okay, so if you do this, it gets you here.
Yes. Because the reality is most children, that's all they ever want is structure. That's why they go to people that operate in structure or help align them in a structural way, I feel like. It's not so much the hardness, it's just it's the consistency. Because the reality is adults we can't function without something being consistent.
Right.
So just imagine their little brains, their little, mindsets that need something that keeps them going daily that says, okay, I do this, I can do this, I can do this.
Right.
And it produces this result.
Yes.
Which makes me feel great. Which makes me feel productive, which makes me feel proud, all of these things. And I say that my 9-year-old, Kayla, we recently just found out that she has ADD. And that is one of the biggest things for her that is necessary. She doesn't like to derail off of anything, that will make her be like, ah. And it took me a long time as a parent to figure that out. And I realized hey, she needs this. And it really checked me as a parent because it starts here, of course, before it gets to the teacher.
Of course, yes it does. And thank you for saying that.
And most think that it's on the teacher, and it's not the teacher's responsibility. It is the parent's responsibility first.
Right.
And that was a big thing that I learned maneuvering 4 kids. It's hey, you have to make sure that you keep a structure that helps her to thrive, help all of them to thrive, but really her, because this is bigger than her just being a child that doesn't have these things that trigger her.
Right. And
then those that's okay, I'm fine. And so.
And I like that you considered that. I think sometimes, oftentimes, from the students that I work with that have ADD or ADHD, they may be in environments that they're forcing them to be something that they're not. And so it's this constant friction that they're having with their parent, because it's like, I want you to be this, but they're like, I literally can't. And so like you said, it takes a lot to be able to take a step back and say like, okay, what does the ideal environment not only look like for me, but look like for my child? And I think we have to make sure that they're included when we're setting the foundation of like what we want their lives to look like. You know, they have to have a voice in that.
Yes. And it took me a while. I will say it took me a while to get it. But when I got it, it was beautiful. It was freeing for me as a parent. And I think that's half of the battle sometimes, is you as a parent accepting what it is that this child needs, and stop forcing that it has to look the same for all of them.
Right.
And that was the thing. I'm like, what Anaya needs, Kayla doesn't need. What Taylor needs, Jaden doesn't need. Like, they all need different things. And being okay with that was so important, which kind of leads me into the what's influencing our children. And I'll start, before I get to the children, you know, it really started with me as a parent. What was influencing my parenting that really helped me to see my children, and what I allow for them to do, and what I, you know, gave them the space to do, and being on these different apps, and being on these different, you know, different things, and how they even went into school, and the friends that they adapted to, and the people, the things that they felt like they needed when they went into the school, because I think that plays into what influences them as well. What they're not getting at home makes them go to school to look for it. Or they're going to look for, you know, okay, no, my parent has established me in that, you know, I am whole as a person.
Right.
I don't need friends to define me. I can have friends. I can have friends. But they don't have to define who I am as a person. I'm sure in that. And so I always push my kids to be sure in who they are, so that when they do have to step into the world, in life, in the school system, that it doesn't rock them, shake them, change them. Because some kids don't have that. And they are swept away.
They are.
They've
been pushed around. I see it every day. I see it every day.
Man.
They're just kind of like trying to find. They're just hopping from like group to group.
So tell me, what is it that you see when you know, what is one of the biggest things that you see influencing our children in this time?
Yeah, you know, I reflected on that question a little bit, and I felt like one way that I can put it is their examples. Like, they are influenced by the examples that they are seeing. So the examples that they see in a woman, like, you know, they're influenced by social media and what they look at as happy and health and well off. You know, they're influenced by their home life also. Like, I think sometimes we forget that they're soaking in everything. So they're influenced by the way you communicate with your partner. They're influenced by the way that you respond when you're angry. You know, they're influenced by your follow through. You know, there are some families who some parents are like, you know, my kid, they don't stick to anything. Well, do you? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and just in a way of like, not to be attacking, but just to be reflective of like, they're really influenced by everything that we do and everything that we don't do. And I think that when you combine that to social media and just this constant stimulation and examples being thrown at them all the time, it can be scary. But I think something that you spoke to earlier, of just that line of communication, I think that you have to communicate. We have to get our students talking, our children talking. You know, when I think about it at school, there's a lot that I get from just them. Even when they make a mistake or they're in trouble, and you know, they're in my office and we're talking, they will share. They will share with you why they made the choice that they made. And that moment is where you teach and mold them in that. So, you know, I think that we have to be careful. We have to be mindful of what we are allowing them to just soak in, not only on social media, but also just in our home environments too. Because it starts there first. And that's the part that I think a lot of parents really have to, that's why I told you at the beginning, sit with yourself, because you are the
first example.
Yeah.
You are the first person that they see. When you think about it, a child, before they get into school, from 1 to 5, you're all pretty much of what they see, besides, a daycare provider if they go into daycare. But really, you are that prime example before they hit school, and what you have poured into them in that time, it sets the foundation. But then even after that, it was really big to me that my daughter seen how I navigated friendships.
Yes, important.
Yes,
it's important.
It is so important, because I feel like even in the failure in it all, she needs to see how it looks as an adult where I make mistakes, so that it's like, okay, let me learn this now. So I'm not an adult trying to figure this out. And me and her, we talk about it. So where did you go wrong at? Or why were you even friends? What could you have done different? How I handle arguments, how I handle disagreements with my friends, how I can come back to it, apologize, have proper conversations. Like, that stuff is so important, because I feel like it sets her up as a young lady.
It does.
To thrive in a place where you have to encounter other young ladies, and that's where you make your friends.
It is.
That's where, you make relationships. And so it was really important to me just to be that first example, which leads me to my next question. What are some things that you think what can you give to parents? I heard you say the consistency. Have they seen you be consistent? And that's a big thing. We're asking for kids to go into school and to thrive.
Right.
How are you thriving?
Are we thriving at home?
Thriving at home.
Are we happy here?
Yes.
But I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I just want to highlight, I think that a big thing that parents can do is just humanize themselves. I think that in my role at the schools, I see more times than I wish I did, students that are afraid to tell their parents something.
Wow.
And I think that it's natural to be nervous, but I don't think that you should fear. It's problematic if they fear your response, because they won't come to you for one. And so I think that, you have to humanize yourself so that they can come to you with a mistake, and they can say, like, hey, I messed up, and you're probably going to get a call because blah, blah, blah. You have to build that. That doesn't just happen naturally. And I think that starts with you humanizing yourself. You're talking through your mistakes. You earlier, I got really upset with Daddy. It wasn't right. That sometimes that happens. I just wanted to break that down. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Just something as small as that, I think is very powerful. I think another thing too, we've kind of talked about it, but just like talking with your children about like how they feel. After families or mothers, you get finished reflecting on who you want to be as a parent. Sit down with them and say, like, so what more do you need from me? I tell my teachers do that all the time, like survey your students, but we as parents can survey our kids too. Like, how did this week go for you? Do you feel that I'm helping you enough? Do you feel that I'm listening to you enough? Do you want to play more?
That's really good.
Ask them, know, and I think that you'll get a lot. You're going to have some kids that are happy, like, no, mommy, I'm good. And they're going to be thrown out of here, But then there's going to be that one moment that you do have that question, that there is something that you missed. And I think that even if you ask that question 10 times and they say, nope, I'm good. If that 11th time they say, actually, you really hurt me when you said X, Y, and Z, I think that there's power in that. So just like building in that line of communication and just making sure that they see you as a human and as a space that they can go to with a mistake. Yeah.
And I want to put a pin right there, because this isn't something that's seen in the Black community.
Yep.
And I think it is so hard in the Black home, because when you think about the generations before us, that wasn't a thing.
No.
Open communication, that wasn't a thing. So our generation is really, I feel like our generation is really big at trying to open up this space. It isn't easy, but I think it's so important that we learn how to adapt it in the most healthy way that works for you and for your home. But I feel like it is worth adapting.
It is.
It's time. We cannot carry another generation that allow a whole lot of stuff to happen to them out of fear of not communicating. And can't and it's really, I feel like it's really more afraid of the response.
Yes.
You know, of what's going to happen to me if I share this, or happen to another individual if I share this. And letting them know that you are strong enough to handle a situation that they bring to you in a healthy way. Because that's what it is. I don't want the family to fall apart, or I don't want you know, somebody they to go up to the school and embarrass me, or you know, or you put me on blast in front of my friends. And so it's creating a healthy space for your children to say that my parent can respond in a healthy way that makes me feel safe.
And I don't think, and I want to say this too, I don't want mothers to think that responding in a healthy way is like almost being fake. We're not saying that you're not going to be angry and you're not going to have emotions. We're saying that you're going to talk through those that anger and that emotion. You're saying you're going to say, you know what, I'm really upset right now. I need 5 minutes to process this, and I'm going to come back and we're going to handle this. It's like giving them language to what you are feeling. Of course, they need to see you angry. It's very normal. Like, you know what I mean? Disagreements are very normal. But it's how are we explaining that, and how are we talking that through? You know, I don't want people to think like, you know, like this style of parenting isn't realistic. It's realistic. It's just work.
It is work.
It's work. And it's a lot you have to unlearn. You know, we grew up, black families, you grew up with what happens in the house stays in the house. Well, that's not always that's not always okay. You know.
Sometimes we got to go get
help. And that's okay. Yes. But yeah, you know, there is a side that I think that, you know, I don't want people to feel like I can't. Yes, you can.
You can.
You have to just be comfortable with being uncomfortable as you adjust to.
And that's very true, because I remember accepting this whole mindset. And you know, I grew up where it was just like, none of that was allowed. So, and I still, you know, I'm not nowhere near perfect. Let my kids sit on this couch, child, they're going to be like, hey, she crazy. She crazy. But I really had to sit with adapting it, and just even checking myself after a moment of going off like, how could you have done better, Tiffany? You know, and then just like, hey, coming back to
just
acknowledging it. And it takes so much work, y'all. It takes so much work.
Take a lot of work.
I don't want y'all to be defeated. It takes work, because I just seen this post that said, gentle parenting ain't working. And I was like, oh, child, I remember. I remember when I felt like that. And I think it's learning what is the gentle parenting in your home for your child and for you. You cannot forget about your make, who you are, your personality, and all those things. So find it within you of what it looks like in your dynamic. Because some kids,
I almost want us to shift it to like gentle parenting to like disciplined parenting.
That's good. That's a good word.
Just a disciplined parenting. We can't pop off every single time and then wonder why they're at school popping off.
Listen,
that's all that they see.
I literally, oh my God, I know. Me and my oldest, you learn with the oldest kid. You make all the mistakes with your oldest one. Just go hug your oldest child and say, I love you. Thank you for being patient with me. I'm sorry. I am yet learning. But my oldest, like, I see her like get this, and I just be like, hey. And then I sit and be like, hey, where she get it from? Where do she get it from? I'm like, you're looking at your own feistiness, ma'am. And it's like, curve it, show her how to maneuver. Because what I don't want her to lose is the fullness of that, right? Because it's really self-control. It's really self-control that you have to operate in. And self-controls make it help you to sit with yourself and help you to come back, know where you need to apologize, know where you need to be like, okay, I'm gonna do better next time. Without it, you're just a bomb that explodes at any moment. So you really are seeing yourself and your kids. So go sit with you and then be like, all right, we're going to sit down and do better in this way, right? Okay. Good. So that's going to bring me to my next question, which is our last one. What are some things that as parents we can do to make your job easier as a dean?
I think I would break that down to three tips. I would say the first thing, be involved with their schoolwork. And that doesn't mean just making sure that they get their homework done, but that is sitting next to them, even if it's just for one question, and say like, talk me through that problem. Like, what are you working on right now? Is it challenging to you? So just being involved with them about how work is going and what they're doing well at and what they're not. I would say number 2 would be talk to your child's teachers, and don't only save it for conferences. I think we miss opportunities to help and be involved and just be connected and fill a gap at home by just talking to our teachers and figuring out, like, you know, what is my child doing well? Does my child participate? Are they likely to work individually or with a partner? Like, just find out a little bit more about your child to see like what they are as learners. And I think the last tip would be do your part in exposing them to experiences. I think that when we talked about examples and the examples that influence our child, we forget about the positive examples too. And if you've taken them places like the museum, or to see different art, or even to talk to an architect, or just exposing them to just different lines of work, so that they know that they have choices and they have options.
That's awesome. That is so good. Yes. I love when you said about the just digging in with the teacher as far as like, do they work by themselves? That's a really, I never would have thought to ask. And I think this is really good too, because I think sometimes as a parent, you just sitting and you think that you're doing your best in the fullness of parenting, that you forget this part of digging in a little more. Because you can be overwhelmed as a parent with, okay, I done got them to school, I done figured out what they was wearing, I done, you know, then I done came home, I done cooked dinner, you know, I done did the homework, but there's a few more steps that we could add in that would really help the experience overall for both of you, because then it makes it easier with sending them, and then the results that you get back are beautiful when you dig in a little bit more more than conference. And I really had to check myself with that the more kids I had. Because, you know, you just think that you're doing enough. You know, and it's like, hey, I talked to you at conference, what more do we need to talk about? Even if your child don't have issues per se, it's good to keep learning them through the eyes of the teacher. Because they have them the majority of the day. They do. The school have them, when you really think about it, throughout the week. They have them more than we do.
And you know what, too? One more thing I would just add, like an extra. Don't be afraid to ask, can you go in and observe? Go in. You know, spend a couple hours in the classroom to really see what else is what else your child is being influenced by. It's a lot that you can see by just observing. And I think don't feel that you have to take the word of the teacher. Say, hey, do you mind if I come in and spend a couple hours in the classroom and just watch? Not only the teacher, but watch what the children are doing around your child too.
Yes, that's big. That is really big, because you'll be surprised what these kids are exposed to.
My Lord, my Lord. We're going to pray for them.
Yes, we go cover them. And that's a big thing always. And I'm so glad you said that. At the end of the day, y'all, you know, I'm a believer. I believe in the Word of God. I believe that you have to saturate your kids with Christ. Speaking the Word over them. Study your part in the Word of God, of what you should be doing by teaching them the Word of God, by praying over them, sitting down doing devotionals with them, because that's a part of this as well. I know that when you guys see these interviews, you see more of the practical side of things, because I think that is needed as well. That is needed as well. But we cannot forget the foundation.
The real foundation.
The real foundation is Christ. And so in it all, go sit with God about your children as well. Because you also have to make sure that you are building that side of them up, so that they really can be whole. They really can be whole. Because you're not whole without them.
Be specific in those prayers.
And God will give you, the Holy Spirit will give you things that you need to know about your children. That in going to sit that you would never see in the classroom. Insight about them. Of things that you can go to Him about. Hey, I need you to work this out, Holy Spirit. So Jazz, if you can tell us how they can get in contact with you with all that you're doing, so they can know. Yes.
So thank you again for having me. This was great.
Thank you for coming on.
As I said, my name is Jasmyn Williams. On Instagram, I am known as the Urban EDU, and I am just dedicated to improving the learning environments for Black and Brown students, specifically those learning in underserved communities. So I'm honored to be here. God is good. Happy New Year.
Yes.
And I'm just excited to see what's to come from you and all the great things that you have coming too.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited, y'all. Go check her out. She gives some great nuggets. I love it. I love it. That's why she's sitting on this couch today. I wouldn't have her here if she wasn't well educated and what she do. But thank you for tuning in. Once again, Happy New Year. Yes. Please go like, comment, subscribe, ding the bell so you can get your notifications. And until we see you again, thank you. Have a good evening.